Think of the giants of today: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia. The combined value of all of them barely reaches this one company's peak valuation. And I can already hear what you probably thought first: Rockefeller or the Rothschilds. No, it's not them. This company was the world's first actual corporation. They created the world's first stock exchange. They launched the first IPO. And here is the shocking part: this company is still alive today, and most people don't even know its name. So, fasten your seatbelts. We are going into the legendary story of the Dutch East India Company, VOC, and the House of Orange. In this video, you will see how the economic system that runs the modern world was engineered, how the state finance, capital markets, stocks, speculation, and global credit networks were born. This is the story of how wars were won, not just with armies and cannons, but with capital itself. First, we are going back to the Iberian Peninsula in the 1580s. The Iberian Union, the threat, and the capital turning into a weapon. In the 1580s, a critical event took place in Iberia. Spain took over Portugal into a personal union. Two sea empires were now merged under one crown, and instantly the global balance of power shifted. Across Asia, Africa, and the Americas, one superpower controlled global trades. But for the Dutch, this became existential. Because at this moment, the Netherlands was still trying to break free from Spain and define its own destiny. And suddenly, the enemy they were facing became much larger and far stronger. So, how do you fight a giant you cannot outgun? This is where one of the biggest turning points in history occurred. The Dutch realized they could not win this war through rifles and cannons, so they invented a new weapon: private capital. In 1602, 7 private trading companies in Netherlands merged under one structure, the Dutch East India Company, VOC. The Dutch East India Company was named this way because they were based in the Netherlands and initially traded with the East Indies, the name Europeans used for the islands of present-day Indonesia, Malaysia, and the surrounding region. But, of course, they didn't stay limited to that region. On the surface, VOC looked like a merchant company. Underneath, it was a machine built on financial engineering. They had armed ships, private troops, fortresses, but their real weapon was something humanity had never seen before: shares. For the first time in history, ordinary people became investors of a global empire. Economic power shifted from aristocrats to the public markets. It was one of the most radical breaks in economic history. The age of wealth tied to the land and title was over. Wealth was now manufactured. The first FOMO in history. Today on social media, you often hear a word, FOMO, fear of missing out. The fear that everyone else is catching the trend while you are being left behind. But what if I told you the first real FOMO wave in history happened 400 years ago? VOC wasn't just trading goods. They invented the financial system we are still living inside today. In 1602, VOC went public. This was the world's first IPO. For the first time, ordinary people in Amsterdam could invest in the future. And here is what made this revolutionary. You didn't need to be noble. You didn't need royal permission. Shares were printed, stamped, and distributed. And they were transferable. People could move these certificates from city to city, hand to hand. So a new form of power was born: liquidity. Very quickly, Amsterdam became the financial center of the world, a brand new system engineered by a company. And then something else happened. VOC shares triggered the first major FOMO wave in history. In 1602, the index was 100 points. By the 1720s, it has risen to around 1000. Demand exploded. Everyone wanted VOC shares. People weren't that different 400 years ago. Compared to the hype around the so-called Magnificent Seven stocks today, but that mania was far bigger. VOC also pioneered another revolutionary concept: limited liability. What if the ship you invested in sank? What if an entire fleet was destroyed? What if a route collapsed? With limited liability, investors only lost what they put in. They didn't lose their homes, their land, their families. And that changed everything. VOC didn't just change trade routes, they changed the meaning of risk itself. Every system, instruments, and speculation used today on Wall Street was shaped inside VOC's laboratory. But behind all this, there was a silent power, the House of Orange. Now we return to them. The House of Orange, the silent capital dominance. William of Orange, you may have heard his name before, but probably never in this context. He was the man who executed the first global application of the economic system we still live under today. So, who exactly was this William and how did he pull this off? In the early 1600s, the House of Orange had no crown, no mines, no wastelands to exploit, but they had something far more important, a vision. Power would not come from land anymore. Power would come from capital. They aligned their future with VOC, and along with nobility, they now became the strategic managers of a massive capital empire. Their biggest move came when they arrived VOC's model beyond Europe. But the first major step happened in England. In 1688, England was in crisis. King James II had lost the trust of both Parliament and the public. The country needed a new leader. So here William saw his moment. He arrived in England with troops, and together with his wife Mary, who was also James's daughter, they took the crown. History remembers this as the Glorious Revolution, but in reality, it was a financial revolution. William imported the Dutch financial model into England. He established the Bank of England. He issued government bonds, which ordinary non-noble people could buy. And wars from that point forward weren't financed by land taxes, they were financed through capital mobilization. The financial system engineered in VOC's laboratory was now embedded into England and then into the global expansion of the British Empire. This was the first true stage in the globalization of capitalism. And now our story moves beyond Europe entirely. It crosses the Atlantic. From New Amsterdam to New York, the financial giant of the Atlantic. VOC wasn't limited to Asia. Their massive commercial profits pushed them further, and they crossed the Atlantic as well. In 1609, a VOC ship reached the harbor we now call New York City. Over time, the West India Company, linked to VOC, was established. And New Amsterdam was founded at the southern tip of what is today Manhattan. This was essentially a financial laboratory in the New World. Planned streets, fluid trade networks, diverse communities. They transported Amsterdam's financial culture directly to the western side of the Atlantic. Later, when the English seized the region, they changed the name to New York, but they didn't touch the system because it worked. Dutch credit culture, market trust, continuity in legal processes. These fused with English practices. And this fusion laid the groundwork for New York to eventually become one of the world's financial centers. The end of VOC. But nothing lasts forever. VOC wasn't immortal. After nearly 200 years, the company began to rot internally. Aggressive expansion made the center unable to manage everything. Decision making slowed down, corruption deepened, and the rising competition from England and France skews the VOC both economically and militarily. In 1796, the Dutch state took over VOC. A company that once ruled the global trade quietly left the stage. But the system VOC created survived under other names, and the ideas, tools, and mechanisms VOC invented became core code inside today's capitalist world. VOC's legacy, modern Netherlands, and the invisible crown today. Today, the Netherlands looks small on a map. At first glance, it seems like nothing remains of that massive maritime empire. But in reality, the Netherlands has transformed into one of the world's most powerful financial empires. VOC collapsed, but its legacy still shapes Netherlands. Modern Dutch corporate law, corporate protections, tax structures, offshore capabilities, all trace back to VOC's legacy design. The Royal Dutch in shell is not an accident. It is the continuation of the old dynasty capital corporation alignment in a modern form. And the House of Orange still exists. The crown today may look ceremonial, but the power is not. Their influence still flows through energy, defense, finance, and corporate networks. Just like in the VOC era, but quieter, more invisible, more sophisticated. The Netherlands now crosses oceans not with ships but with capital. And here we have come to the end of our story. If you liked my video, subscribe to my channel for more fascinating stories about financial history. I hope to see you in our next video, which will be about another fascinating story. Till then, take care.